Hey everyone, welcome to 996 The Howl for the uninitiated. This is an unedited YouTube vlog discussing everything Arizona Coyotes. And John, the monster Chaika, does not sleep, continues to pull out rabbits out of his magic hat. Unbelievable. The Arizona Coyotes get Taylor Hall, highly touted, expiring player who's going to hit free agency July 1st. And he might still hit free agency July 1st. But he is now an Arizona Coyote, and the Coyotes give up a hard, cemented first-round pick. Unless it's a top 3 pick, it defers to next year's draft 2021. But it's a first-round pick, a conditional 3rd pick. Nate Schnarr, Nick Merkley, and Kevin Bahl. Kevin Bahl, who, you know, some rumblings about him being a good defensive prospect for the Coyotes. He hasn't played for the Tucson Roadrunners, still a prospect. But I think Victor Soderstrom surpassed him in the defensive depth chart for the Coyotes, and that made Bahl expendable. And keep note that the Coyotes did not offer Barrett Hayden or Soderstrom in the deal, which is a plus in Chaika's book. But I looked at the names. I looked at Nick Merkley and Nate Schnarr, and, you know, as a diehard Coyotes fan, I was like, oh, man, you know, I was rooting for those guys. Nick Merkley had a fantastic season with Dylan Strome and Lawson Krause not too long ago for the Tucson Roadrunners. But, I mean, this guy had so many injuries. I believe he missed a couple training camps due to knee injuries. And he only has 3 goals in 26 games for the Tucson Roadrunners this season, who are first in the American Hockey League. 21 wins and 5 losses the Tucson Roadrunners have in 26 games. So you're looking at a top team in the league who don't use Nick Merkley because he only has 3 goals in those 26 games. And then Nate Schnarr only has 1 goal in those 26 games. So, I mean, at first I was like, wow, Tucson is losing a lot of guys. You know, 2 big pieces in Schnarr and Merkley, but they're not even producing on a number 1 team in the league. I mean, that goes to Braden Berg and Fasching and Bunting, Pedersen. I mean, Michael Chaput, who is an NHL journeyman, bit of a fringe NHLer. But none of those guys were touched, so I guess the cohesiveness of the Roadrunners is still intact. The players who produce are still on the team, so it shouldn't rumble the Roadrunners too much. Chaika will probably have to, you know, promote some guys from the East Coast Hockey League to fill in their spots. But I don't know, I'm kind of nervous about this trade. Same way with the Phil Kessel trade. Now that I look back at the Kessel trade, I'm glad it happened. I'd rather have Phil Kessel than Alex Galchenyuk, who's struggling with the Pittsburgh Penguins this season. You know, Kessel's not producing as advertised, but he's a leader. He wears the A on his chest due to Nick Jomerson's injury. He's a fun guy to be around. The teammates love him. And now you add in Taylor Hall, who is a finisher, who could score highlight reel goals. He needs to produce on this Coyotes team. If he scores goals, that's the only problem with this Coyotes team. They have trouble scoring. And I know their system doesn't invigorate goal scoring because it's more defensively minded. You can look at my past video, the one I uploaded right before this one, and how I discuss how the Coyotes play and why they're a top NHL team and how they got there. Their defense first. They rely heavily on their goaltending, who show up, and they win games, 1-goal games. You know, they only need to score 3 goals. So if Hall could just get that 3rd goal every other game, the Coyotes are golden. This could be a huge just propulsion for the Coyotes in the standings if Hall comes as advertised. I obviously don't expect him to be a 70-point player this season. You know, maybe just score some goals, maybe take off the spotlight off Phil Kessel and Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz. I mean, now this team's got weapons everywhere. Hall, Kessel, Keller, Dvorak, Garland, who leads the team with 12 goals, Schmaltz, Chikrin on the back end. Still have Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who's yet to bloom this season. So a lot of big NHL names, a lot of firepower. I mean, and I hope this trade signals to the dressing room that Chaika believes in this team and believes they can go far into the playoffs. It's a win now move. It's 5 assets for a rental player. There's a lot of pros and cons with this deal, but I hope guys like Keller and Dvorak and Krause and Fisher and Garland just look at this trade and be like, wow, we could do this. Our GM believes in us. Let's just stick to it. Hopefully this new player can just finish our amazing passing plays, because the Coyotes have a hard time executing and finishing. They get good looks almost every game. They just cannot put it past the goalie, and hopefully Hall's sniping ability can fix that. But yeah, I mean, this trade, I hope Hall resigns. I really hope so, because 5 assets to give up for a rental player for about 4 months, it's hard to swallow, even though the 2 of those 5 assets aren't going to crack a top 3 line in the NHL. Merkley and Schnarr are not going to help the New Jersey Devils out of their basement hole that they're in. Kevin Bahl's a nice defensive prospect. Sure, he could shore up the New Jersey blue line, but that's 5 assets. And I know Scheika's an asset guy. He loves holding on to assets and trading 1 asset for 2. But to be on the other side of that trade, giving up 5 for Hall, they got another guy, Blake Spear, but he's more of an AHL guy who won't crack the Coyotes lineup. So, I mean, that's 5 assets for 2 if you're being technical. But it's really just Hall that's surprising this trade. New Jersey retains 50% of Hall's contract, so that's why the Coyotes could fit him in to their cap-strapped season. The cap is pretty tight for this season and next season, but after the next season after, it clears up a bit with Goligoski, Hjalmarsson, Hossa, Ribeiro, all those contracts getting off the books. And Soderberg is up this year. We'll see what happens with him. He's worth $4.5 million. So maybe he'll re-sign, maybe he won't. But I hope Hall signs. I hope he produces. If Hall produces, I mean, the Coyotes are dangerous. They got Hall, they got Kessel. If Kessel could get going. Clayton Keller has just started to gain confidence this year. The past 2 weeks, he's been unbelievable. And then Schmaltz has been consistent. Garland's been consistent. Dvorak's having a coming out party. Chikrin's having a career year. So Hall's going to fit in well. That top winger spot was filled in by Vinny Hinostroza, who did an okay job, but I knew Hinostroza didn't deserve to be on that top line wing spot. So hopefully Hall moves in there. We'll see who he plays with, and we'll see how this rolls out. It's exciting. John Chaika loves to make moves, and I love him for that. He always keeps it fresh, always something to talk about. He's not stubborn, and let's see. That's it for me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support.